Okay, let's see. What does our new friend Kiwi57 have to say on the website today? Your ability to garble even the sources directly in front of you is breathtaking. Wow. It's a simple truism that believers are better informed about their faith than non-believers are? I'm sorry you're offended by that. The real impact of such a law would be to take away from the new privileged class any pretext for throwing one of their famous public hissy fits.
New privileged class?
Son of a bitch!
That's for Randy.
Is your complete failure to understand what we're saying the result of mere laziness?
Oh,
you think your spiteful, gratuitous, and mean-spirited attacks on the faith of the Latter-day Saints are somehow endearing? What?
You walked in on our party like we were waiting here just for you. Your head strategically placed high up your ass to give you such a superior view. You raised one arm to the square as you cast out all untruth, and all the infants dreamed you'd be their savior, you'd be our savior, and you're so lame. You probably think this song's not about you, you're so lame. I bet you think this song's not about you, don't you, don't you? Well, you remind me of me several years ago, when I was still quite naive, when I realized that maintaining faith in things demonstrably false was the same thing as making believe. So I gave away that faith I loved, so I could finally see that Gentiles aren't sinners when drinking their coffee, and you're so lame. You probably think God sent you to rebuke us, you're so lame. I bet you wish that Kim Jong-un would just nuke us, don't you? Don't you? Don't you? Come on, you kind of do probably, huh? I mean, maybe. Or maybe not, remember? It goes both ways.
Is your simply truism that you understand you think your spiteful, gratuitous, and mean-spirited attacks on the faith of the Latter-day Saints are somehow endearing?
All the smugness and self-righteousness, it's just so cute and adorable. Don't ever change. And all the infants dreamed you'd be their savior, you'd be my savior, and you're so lame. You probably think you've showed us our errors, you're so lame. I bet you still love Saturday's Warriors, don't you, don't you? That's okay, I do too. Well, I'm actually glad you came into our world, and I'm really impressed by all the things you know. But this mutual ad hominem crap prevents real dialogue, so none of us can actually learn or grow.
And that's totally on us too.
But what can I really expect from someone like you, who's too afraid of what the rest of us just know? What you call divine is demonstrably man-made religion, and you're so lame. You're probably praying for that second anointing. You're so lame. And now I just find you so disappointing now. You're so lame. You probably think a porcupine and a pineapple is a good idea. You're so lame. Yeah, you are. I wish you weren't. It's okay. I am too. I'm lame. Yes.
You're offended by that?
I'm lame. I think the song was made for me to sing a parody of. Right, yes. I am also so lame. It's true. I am too. Yes. That's one of the things that I opened up my eyes and was able to see, you know. It's called humility. And I don't wear it very well either.
This is Infants on Thrones. The philosophies of men mingled with humor. We are the core.
Go. All right.
Hi, Randy.
Hi.
Are you going to do video? Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how you been, man?
So I got sucked into my normal cycle
What's that?
of getting triggered by a troll.
that normal cycle. I was wondering which normal cycle you were referring to. Yeah.
That's just one of other cycles that I'm subjected to or susceptible to. But yeah, like I'm just. Are you recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, you speak differently though when you know it's on the record.
I don't. No, you don't. You don't speak differently. You just expect me to edit out whatever you don't want to make the final thing.
Well, it's not my work I have to worry about. Yeah. So, like and right now I am just like this Trump thing is just.
Oh yeah, me too.
It's like every day something outrageous. It's like, and it's a compound anger. It's like being angry at him, but eventually you're like. So cut all this out. It's all.
I will. I'll change all this. But yeah.
But at any rate, I'm just I was in a particularly angry mode because of what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
And then he used a term that he called basically these people in these marginalized groups like the LGBT and
the new privileged class any pretext for throwing one of their famous public hissy fits.
And
I didn't see what he said. I really haven't been reading a lot of his comments.
I was hoping that you had read some of his comments because you seem to have changed your tune since you did your mini-sode.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about this too because it was fun for me doing the edit on the scouting thing. Because, like, you asked a couple of times, what do you guys think about that episode that Glenn did? But you guys didn't really talk about it. So I was so disappointed. I'm like, no, I want to hear what you're saying. So what did you think? When you saw that, did you, like, go, oh, man, what the hell is he doing? It sounded like you're kind of that way.
Okay, so first let me finish my story. So he called marginalized people
right.
the new privileged class, which I just lost it. I just lost my shit. And even as I'm looking at it, I'm staring at it. I'm like, this is something I'm going to regret in the morning. When I push send to like go fuck yourself.
Oh right, yeah. Kindly, you said kindly though. You put a kindly on there.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not a.
So be gentle with yourself.
I'm not a monster.
Yeah, I'm not a monster.
Yeah. So what I thought about, like, when you released it, I was like, why are you giving this troll this platform? And then I listened to it. I listened to the thing immediately.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, let's have a Glenn style takedown of this guy. And you were way too nice, I thought.
I mean, I still feel that way. Like, I don't know. I'm disappointed in him because I really do think that he's a smart guy. Like well read. He knows his stuff. I could definitely learn from him, except his approach is way too, caustic and just, so like it looked to me a little bit like he kind of toned it down in the response, at least to me. And so I was kind of hopeful, and I was like, oh, cool, we could have a cool dialogue. And that's why I called it Why Can't We Be Friends Part 4, because it connected to whatever that angst was in me during that Mormon stories thing about the secretly recorded conversation with the general authority and the church historian, where I was like, come on, we already know that believers believe. What is it? Why do we have to keep talking about how crazy they are for belief? They believe. Okay, accept it, move on. So I was kind of in that spot, and then thinking, okay, here's a guy who comes in. Somebody told him that on our podcast we said that Mormons aren't Christians, and so this is like. Somebody
directed him to
right.
because they told him, oh, these guys will show you, the what for. And he came in with that attitude though, of like, oh, I'm gonna fucking show these guys.
Well, so what's his name? We found out what his name is. Russell C. What is it? Russell C. McGregor. And I love that he's got the C in there. Like
like the general. He's
right? Yeah. So I did a Google search to try and find out what I could find, because I wanted to like read things that he's written before. I guess he's a pretty well-known commenter on certain boards, but I've never come across him, and I've never really did the boards and the whole I don't have much experience interacting with apologists. I don't.
Yeah, I honestly have no experience with what's was called the Bloggernacle, and that whole history that Bob was part of.
Bob was part of it, and I know Tom spent time in apologetics himself. So anyway, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but I was interested in what he's done. I wanted to read up on him a little bit because I actually do respect his intellect and the devotion that he has to Mormonism. He's very well read. He knows stuff, but he's been doing this for so long. Like did you look on the page that I sent you, the Farms review?
I read it, but I didn't thoroughly inspect every aspect of it. I didn't follow all the links, and so what did I miss that you're
no. I'm just thinking about the dates. So what he's done on Farms, the most recent is 2002. So it's 15 years ago.
Wow.
That's the review, the anti-Mormon attackers, which I thought it would be interesting to read. But I don't know.
We could.
It's short. Just to get into this guy's head a little bit and try to understand where he's coming from, because he's put himself on the front lines of anti-Mormonism going back at least 15 years. He's been doing this for a long time. But
what's he been doing since, though? I mean, if he hasn't,
but
did he get put out to pasture?
No, I don't know. I don't understand how Farms works and all of that. But so when he came on to our website and he had this preconceived notion of who we are as anti-Mormon podcasters, it's coming from years and years and years and a lot of experience of having these kinds of battles, and it looks like he does a lot with the Christian anti-Mormons more than the atheist anti-Mormons, But
like he doesn't seem to have like an understanding of what he's dealing with. When you're dealing with Christian apologetics, you start with different assumptions,
right?
We both agree Jesus is divine. But when you're talking to people that you're not even starting on that same playing field, like he has, and that came out in your podcast. You're like, dude, there's a divide here that is just too big for us to cross.
Yeah,
and so this is not going to work.
And so I called it "Why Can't We Be Friends?" because I had this like hope that well maybe we could see past our differences and like just have conversations about things and get a different perspective, and that would be kind of cool. Because I do like learning things, but I don't. It seems like an unwillingness to engage in a real dialogue. Because it's just like insults and you guys clearly don't know this, and then here's this and
look how much I know about this.
Yeah,
and that should intimidate you into submission.
Maybe, yeah. But so do you have much experience with Mormon apologists and their tactics? Because I always heard, that their first go-to is ad hominem.
Well, they're big. Part of ad hominem is poisoning the well.
You said that so well.
Ad hominem.
Yeah,
I've said it many times.
I
know. Remember, I was that douchebag that came out of Mormonism and right off the bat was committing the fallacy over and over.
The fallacy. We need to do a fallacies episode. I've wanted to do a fallacies episode
Since Mormon Expression days, I've wanted to do that.
Well, here's what a douchebag who doesn't really is a novice in this area. They just learned about logical fallacies in any detail. Is they start like throwing around the fallacy, and the fallacy is somebody's arguing with you, and if they do technically commit a logical fallacy, then you utterly dismiss everything they said. Well, the reality of the situation is you can commit a logical fallacy and still be right.
Right. So it's like the princess and the pea, that fable about the all the soft all these soft mattresses that they put the princess on, but they put a little pea underneath it to see if she's really a princess, because only a princess would go, oh, there's a lump here, I can't sleep, too comfortable. But so like just having that one little flaw invalidates the entire bed. Well,
and that's the fallacy that you commit is
sounds like like a Little Caesars pizza commercial. Fallacy.
Pizza. Yeah, so I started out with like that way with my argumentation. It was always like I was like, and it's something I've seen. It's common is you become the logical fallacy police, and it's so annoying to the person, and it's so ineffective.
Right.
And it's. But you were trying to. I think you were trying to maybe start a dialogue but find some common ground. But to me, the chasm is so big that I really thought it was kind of a fool's errand.
So you're calling me the fool in that case, huh, Randy? I'm the fool?
Well, you were the guy on a fool's errand.
And maybe it is foolish to hold out any hope that people can see past their differences and still coexist in a happy, peaceful, respectful way. Now, what is respect anyway? Go back. Not that again.
Do we have to go? Yeah, let's not start that again.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think so. I saw your responses to him, and I thought it'd just be fun. Just to talk with Randy anyway, but see what comes out of talking about this guy. If anything does, maybe nothing does.
The thing is I almost feel like I'm a scorpion, man. You're a folklore guy. Yeah. You know the story of the frog and the scorpion.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, wasn't it a turtle? Was it a frog? I guess it's a frog.
The version I heard was a frog.
Yeah, I heard Matt tell it. That's where I heard it from. I didn't hear it as a folklorist. I just heard it when Matt said it on the podcast once.
And I just like, in spite of myself, I'm like, I'm going to be a scorpion if I push send. And I still push send.
Yeah.
And paid the same price that I paid over and over and over. And I'm like, I really have to reevaluate my life.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe that's what we could do tonight.
Reevaluate.
Yeah. It's just like Randy's life reevaluated.
But okay, so do you have any specifics on why you took a lot of effort creating this spoof of Carly Simon?
Yeah.
What are some of the specific things? You mentioned ad hominem.
Yeah. Well, and like I was, it's just something that I had an idea, and so I did it, and I didn't put a ton of thought into it, but what I was trying to do with it is to say, part of it, like, what does he expect? That he's going to come in here and he's going to correct us, and we're going to be grateful for that. That he's going to come in and go, oh no, you're wrong here. Oh, you guys are too stupid to be able to see this. Oh, you may not understand it, but this is how it is. Oh, you guys keep your head in your rabbit hole. Like everything is so pejorative that we're going to be like, oh, awesome, he showed us. I've learned something here. So that was part of it, and I don't know. It just kind of came to me. And as I was going through it, there were a lot of places like the coffee part, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Or I was so quite naive. Oh, so I like it when I'm doing parodies of songs and I can keep the original lyrics in there, but kind of twist the meanings a little bit. But I don't know if that's interesting to anybody. Is that what you were asking? Or what were you asking? You were asking me like, what was I trying to say with it or do with it?
No, I wasn't asking that at all. I was just observing that you were like there was something that happened between when you did your mini-sode and tonight when you made this parody song.
Yeah.
That turned you sour on him. And
Well,
I was trying to get the specifics on how he's interact because I just don't spend that much time on the boards.
Yeah.
For my own mental health.
Right.
But I checked it enough to know that he has like a lot of responses.
Yeah.
And people have been interacting with him, and I figured that you had observed enough of his behavior, and I wanted to know what it was that caused this shift in your opinion towards him. Or I don't know if your opinion changed, but maybe your hope for him.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's definitely been a change from last week to this week, and it's the way that he's gone after commenters. But I've also appreciated it seems like there's more activity on the website. There are people that are commenting that haven't before, and it does seem like there's a little bit more energy and conversation going on, and part of that is because he's coming in and poking people in the eye, and then and then people poke back, and
and he's stirring the pot.
And probably I'm sure, I'm sure that he gets a real sense of satisfaction, like being an antagonizer and an instigator. But that's probably because I'm that way. He may not be that way at all. But if I was him, I would enjoy it whenever, if I could like put a little piece of kibble out there and then just see Randy come and just devour it. Like the puppet master in me goes, yeah, I got him. Like, what if I poke you here? Or I'm not touching you. Stop it. Stop. The big that's the big brother.
Yeah, you're the puppet master.
Right. So I mean, I think that's the thing that changed.
Let's like totally have this unjustified exercise of getting inside the head of Kiwi. Do we see anything in ourselves back as believers in him?
Absolutely.
Or is he completely foreign to us?
What you answer that question. What is he to you? Because I touched on that in that mini-sode I did last week. But what do you think about you?
I think if I were to hazard a guess, I would say that he's generally irritated at anti-Mormonism.
Oh yeah,
in all its forms, and I think he just wants to come in and just cause chaos.
Oh, I think he wants. I think he wants to strip away our arrogance.
Without any self-awareness of his own arrogance.
Right. Yeah. But again, that's where I can see a parallel to me. I don't know that I ever was exactly the way that he is like this, but I very well could have been. Like I was always interested in ex-Mormons, like wondering why. Why is it that you chose to walk away from something that is so awesome, back when I thought that it was so awesome, and there's still things that I like about the theology, but I was really interested and I wanted to know, and there were even times where I thought maybe they know something I don't know and I want to hear what it is, but I also wanted to argue and show them they were wrong. Like if they said that something was wrong, like I've told this before, but there was a blog post that I read, somebody that was claiming that Mormons put Lucifer as the most important person in the plan of salvation. Like Lucifer is the linchpin without whom there would be no existence because of the role that he played in tempting Adam and Eve and giving them the fruit in the Garden of Eden. So he was saying Mormons wouldn't be anywhere without Lucifer. So they actually, whether they know it or not, they worship the devil. And like that
just pissed me off. I didn't know who this guy was or anything. But so, and I didn't respond on his website. There wasn't like a comment board or anything like that. But I put that into my next gospel doctrine lesson. And I said, there are people out here who say this about us. What's our response to them? And then I gave my response, which really kind of fragmented people in the class, because I went way into like speculative theology about how
this is making me uncomfortable.
There's other plans, no, actually Jesus was supposed to be the one who introduced the fruit to Adam and Eve. And so I started creating my own narrative of the plan of salvation. This is what's happened in other worlds. That's why in the temple movie Lucifer says, I'm only doing that which has been done in other worlds. And then God says, well, because you've done this, you will be punished. He's like, what do you mean? The other people weren't punished, but he was trying to usurp Jesus's role, which is his MO the whole way. It's consistent with Satan's whole fall. He was trying to take away what was Jesus's and make that be him. And so I thought, yeah, I've got it. And I taught that in gospel doctrine class, and there were a lot of people who were like, what? Because also I said, you know what? The devil is insignificant. We don't need him. We don't need him at all. He's not necessary to the plan of salvation at all. There's still the ability to choose wrong over right, as evidenced by the fact that he chose wrong over right when he was...
And there was no devil for him.
Yeah, there was no devil that was tempting him in the pre-existence. So there's still ways of choosing right or wrong without having to be tempted one way or another. But these were like challenging ideas to some people in the class, not to everybody. Some people really liked it, and they're like, "Oh, this is cool. We should talk more about this and explore these ideas." But yeah, anyway, yeah. So I did find inspiration from anti-Mormons in that sense, but it was as a way to try to better understand and validate my own beliefs with that. And I don't feel like that's really what he's doing. I think he's just trying to smack down the whippersnappers, or he's trying to set the great and spacious building on fire.
Yeah, so I served my mission in your stomping grounds growing up.
Yeah.
So there was a shit ton of Mormons, but not enough to where they were dominant, but enough where they were annoying to everyone who wasn't Mormon. And so that created this like really strong anti-Mormon culture that was, the Central Christian Church in Mesa. Like that was the bane of my existence on my mission.
Really?
Yeah.
So you had like actual Bible bashing experiences then.
Oh,
probably.
yeah. I was just my first month of my mission, I was lured into a trap set by Hispanic, or is it Latina? I don't know what's the politically correct term anymore.
Okay, next thing. Oh, racial sensitivity seminar. I took it. You guys should take it. I learned things there that blew my mind.
Yeah, like what?
Mexican, not offensive.
You can say Mexican. I don't think that word's
they weren't
offensive
Mexican.
anymore.
They were from South America.
Oh, hey, Ron, you want me to haul this trash out to the street? Nah, they have a compactor in their kitchen. They'll have one of their Mexicans take it out in the morning.
But they lured us into a trap, posing as like golden investigators to get us to come in to Bible bash. And I had many doorstep Bible bashing sessions, and then having, you have this 17-year-old golden investigator, but they're not, they're minors, so you have to have the parents' permission, and then they bring in their pastor to then bash with your pastor.
Yeah.
And I bashed with Baptists, Pentecostals, Jehovah's Witnesses, and so I became really interested in the way that they were wrong about Jesus.
Yeah.
and even that kind of overflowed into when I became like in the young men's, when I was the priest corps advisor. I had this 16-year-old kid who was being attacked by his evangelical friends, and he asked me to write up like a short dissertation on where they're wrong about certain Mormon doctrines, like Mormons believe they can become God. So then I then I cite First Romans chapter 8.
Roman.
Wormhole.
What am I not hearing?
I don't know, a squid. There are other options. I
Music.
suppose.
Pronto.
Okay.
Verses 16 through 17, where you're heirs to God and joint heirs with Christ. And I had it was really heavily cited stuff to combat their opposition to other things like baptism for the dead. And so I do see myself in him when he's combating, and that's what you had me read, was him going after an evangelical Christian anti-Mormon, quote unquote anti-Mormon. But what I don't think he understands is he's coming into this den of mostly agnostic or atheist listeners of ours, and he doesn't. I just don't think he understands the room.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. As you're saying that, I think he understands it perfectly, and I think the difference is that so you're talking about one of the things that you would Bible bash is their mistaken views of Jesus compared to your views of Jesus, right? And that made me think of the reason why Kiwi or Russell why Russell came onto the website in the first place about Mormons being Christian, and the first thing that he posted was this link where it has been I'll have to look up exactly how he said it, but it's like, this has been definitively proven that Mormons are, and it's something that Nibley wrote, or Neil A. Maxwell, or something like that, is like, oh, well, if a Mormon said it, then I guess it ends right there,
That's what I'm talking about. Is that argument to an atheist is like incoherent, like it's just nonsensical.
Right. But what I'm trying to build towards is, I don't think that his issue is a lack of understanding that we don't believe that. I think it's a lack of appreciation that there can be multiple valid views of what a Christian is, depending on how you define it. Somebody from outside of the Mormon group can be equally as valid to say Mormons aren't Christian based on these criteria as somebody inside Mormonism could go, oh yes, we are, because of these criteria. The people in the different groups aren't agreeing on the criteria, but somebody who's completely separated from both of them can look at it and see they're just splitting hairs, and it's not,
Yeah.
The Christians are saying, you are not one of us. We do not recognize you as being part of our group. A group, yeah, because of all of the ways that you differ so significantly from us. And the Mormons are saying, oh yeah, well, we're the real Christians. You guys aren't, but they're not saying it in that way, but that's basically what the missionaries are doing out there. And that's what the whole, us versus them, the world is so wicked, we need to convert them message of Mormonism is. And he sincerely believes that. He believes he is right and that God is on his side. And he's got that confidence, and that we're wrong. And like, I'm coming at it from a place where, I'm interested in hearing what you have to say. I could learn from you. I don't think that he thinks that he could learn anything from me or from us. So I think right there is a very key difference. There's a lack of, and I don't know if it's an ability, it's certainly a willingness to look past the boundaries of Mormonism to see what is the larger world out there, and how does Mormonism fit into it. It's all this. Is parochial the right word? It's coming. I don't know if that's the right word, but just like this.
Yeah, it's parochial.
This parochial view of the world, and it's like, yeah, this is what Joseph Smith says. So this has got to be how it is. This is how our church leader said. And if you don't believe that that's true, look, this other person also said it. And this other person also said it. And these people here and this thing said it. And this, and so he'll go into all these details about this person here said this and this and this. Or look at all the things that Joseph Smith did that proved that he was a sincere guy. He couldn't have ever done anything insincere. It's like, okay, it's just an inability or unwillingness to even look at the possibility that Joseph Smith might not have been what he says that he is, But it's the same, and I'm critical of ex-Mormons when we do this too, because I think we make these kinds of mistakes all the time, and that makes us rife for attack because he can come in and he can poke his finger at what was you were saying again when we were talking about you were talking earlier. If there's one flaw, then it ruins the whole.
Oh, the fallacy.
Fallacy. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you commit a logical fallacy, then everything else you say is considered invalidated, which is a fallacy in and of itself.
I mean, it's almost like the all or nothing. That all or nothing is that a fallacy? All or nothing fallacy? Am I right when I'm saying this?
I don't know.
I don't know.
The world doesn't usually work in all or nothing.
Yeah. but I think that there are times when we get really strident and bombastic, and we use hyperbole. We overstate things. We're not always careful, and we're not always right in the way that we're looking at history and interpreting things. We interpret it to fit our worldview now, and we're comfortable with our worldview and how we've gotten there. But I think it's personal.
I mean,
it's totally reason. Yeah, go ahead.
I say everyone's comfortable with their worldview, or otherwise they would have a different worldview. There's this great George Carlin observation in one of his famous bits where he says, "Have you ever noticed that everyone who's driving slower than you is an idiot?
Yeah, right.
And everyone driving faster than you is a maniac."
Yeah, right. Is a maniac. That's good. That's a good observation.
And it's a great metaphor for politics. Anyone who's like overly progressive, they lack common sense. And everyone who's moving too slow for social progress is an idiot or lacks any kind of human empathy. And you wouldn't think that about them, or you wouldn't. It's really hard for humans to acknowledge that the speed that they're driving is valid, because if we thought that would be the valid speed, that's the speed we'd be driving. We all think we're driving at just the right speed. And so it's kind of it's a difficult thing to deal with. But I lost my train of thought. Like, Kiwi doesn't understand what it's like to be an ex-Mormon. He can't.
You don't know how it feels. You don't know how it feels to be me.
But we can understand, like when we even talked about it, like we understand the mentality that he's in. I'm not saying that makes us right by definition, but I think there's a difference in perspective there. You're saying, he comes from such a parochial vision. Like, he's never gotten outside the fishbowl to see the world from outside the fishbowl. And one of the things
that's what it looks like. We don't know that for sure. Like, we don't know. Maybe
that's our perspective.
Maybe he was an ex-Mormon for a while, and then he came back. And who knows? Who knows?
I've heard so many of those stories.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But like I don't know. Do you battle with this reflex? When you're dealing with someone who comes from a position that is so absurd from where you're standing that you just want to just sit there. And actually, I think I did this with Kiwi, and then my phone died, and my entire response was lost, and I just said, "Fuck it, I'm not retyping all that."
Yeah.
But my reflex was to say, okay, so the Jaredites, historical, right? That's how language came from, That means the flood is historical. So you believe there was an actual global flood. You believe that Brigham, when he said that, black people will never get the priesthood until every white person does. This will always be so. When Wilford Woodruff wrote in his journal that if a black and a white person mix their seed, the white person's head has to be cut off. This will always be so. You believe, you just keep going with the Book of Abraham, the age of the earth and all that stuff. You're saying you're gonna sign your name to all of this, verifiable bullshit That's what you're defending. That's what you're backing. Do you have that reflex?
Not anymore. I used to. I used to, and I can still, like, it still kind of comes up very.
It was in your song.
Weakly. In fact,
it was in your song.
It was. What was it?
Well, you basically said this is verifiably, man-made bullshit.
No, in my song where I was talking about how when I realized, like, I was trying to figure out a way to say that faith limits learning and understanding, because you've already got the end result that you're not going to change for anything.
Well, I would change that to not faith. I don't think faith inherently keeps you from learning. I think dogma keeps you from learning. When you have immutable truths that you have to work from, that starting point, you're limited on how how far you can go in the universe. But
I guess the difference is, like, and when you were asking me if I have that reflex, what I took that to mean is that you're asking, do I need to tie somebody up in knots and kind of pretend like I'm the biblical Jesus that is turning away the people who are trying to twist my words, and I end up twisting it onto them. Like, I used to be like that, and I used to want to get people, like, catch people in, oh, well, you said this, but if you actually believe in this and this and this, then it contradicts what you said, and so, you're wrong and you can't even see it. I did that, but I don't. It just is so, like, there's no appeal to it for me anymore. Like, just kind of like the nitpicking things that I think for a while it helped me understand what I believe better as my beliefs were transitioning. But now it just seems like, am I trying to pull this guy over onto my side? Am I trying to convince him to see things my way? I can accept that he isn't going to do that, and that there's really no point in doing it. So that's kind of what, where I kind of feel, and I'm not like thinking it through. It just that's the way that I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exercise in futility, absolutely, with all we know about psychology. But
seems like a fool's errand.
It's a fool's errand, absolutely, and I'm the fool over and over. But there was a question on the Myers-Briggs test we both took today.
Yeah.
This is the question. Is it more important for you to be right than to spare other people's feelings? Yeah. And I put heavily agree.
Oh, yeah.
What did you put?
Oh, I think it was probably, it wasn't like the full disagree, but it was, kind of like just to the right of center. Or somewhat disagree.
Yeah.
Well, you might say pussy, but I think I always have a hard time answering those kinds of questions because they all seem all or nothing. Like, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I have more of a tendency to do it or not. And am I really seeing myself the way that I am, or am I, being a David Brent here? And so I've got all those.
Well, not only that, like I think something that probably goes through both our minds is, I see what they're trying to do here with this question.
Yeah, right. I'm not going to let them get away with this.
Right. And then you're like, am I doing it honestly? I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a future episode. We're going to do the Myers-Briggs episode at some point.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what that's a John Hamer idea. Where we go with
John Hamer production.
John Hamer production. Hamer time.
Go for it, man. Can't touch this.
I don't know if reading this, I mean, it really was kind of boring.
The thing that, and I only read the first couple of paragraphs, but the first critique that he has of this, it's a review of James Patrick Holding's The Mormon Defenders, How Latter-day Saint Apologists Misinterpret the Bible. Self-published. It's a self-published 160 pages for $8.99 a donation if you want to give it, or like whatever. I don't know.
My dad is self-published 5 times.
Cool. We're self-published over like 300. So
yeah.
So he quotes this thing that says, as a former 5th generation member of the LDS Church, I enthusiastically recommend the Mormon Defenders as an able, insightful, and engaging defense of truly biblical Christianity. by Kevin James Bywater. And then he says, it comes as a mild surprise to find that Mr. Bywater has written the foreword from which this statement has been excerpted. It seems unusual to me for a book's recommendation to be quoted directly from the book itself. Which,
yeah, well, isn't that what he does with Nibley? Like, here's how I'm backing up my defense. Here's what Nibley said.
Well, maybe he does, but that's not what jumped out at me. What jumped out to me was, oh, he's right. That is weird. That's a good catch. So like right off the bat, I'm like, okay, yeah, totally. So that made me want to read more, but I didn't. To see, because I was hoping that more than being a review of somebody else's book, that it would be something that's really just from him. That's what I was hoping for. But that's why that jumped out to me. But I guess to go back to your earlier question, the thing that I talk about with 1 Corinthians 15 with terrestrial and telestial, celestial, how it was binary and it didn't make sense. Like, I used to do this asking people, can you explain this? How does this make sense? How did Joseph Smith create telestial from this binary that's given in 1 Corinthians? And so when I come across somebody like Russell Kiwi, I brother Russell C. Kiwi, elder president. Yeah. I want to ask him and go, hey, can you point this out to me? But it's not because at this point I'm like, I really want to try to understand how this happened. It's because I want to say, don't you see that this is impossible? That this is a mistake that Joseph Smith made? Like a misinterpretation of what was being said here. And but I've done that so many times with so many people that I recognize they're not going to see that, and it doesn't. It's just that exercise in futility. So
yeah,
we've said that before tonight, even.
I think that might be the third time.
Yep. Which is a charm.
So we're you just the best you could ever hope for in situations like if you run into a Russell C. Kiwi. Yeah. And let's say just someone that's in your life that maybe even close to you, maybe a relative. The best you can do is plant seeds. Like, you're just not like a full locking horns kind of confrontation.
Well, what do you say when you're saying plant seeds?
It's never going to work.
What does that mean?
I'm doing it all the time with my little brother. I don't get too aggressive, and I just it'll almost seem like something that's just off the cuff or not quite about what it's really about, and you just plant a little seed. And
what does that mean? Like, what is the seed going to grow into?
Really, I've gotten baby victories with him. He didn't vote for Trump, and that was a huge victory. He's the only one of my believing family members that didn't vote for Trump, and that was like a very it was a concerted effort, but it was it took a lot of self-restraint, which I normally don't have. But he means so much to me that I took the effort. And now he's, when I talk about, meanwhile, my sisters want Colbert to be fired because of what he said about Trump.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
the hashtag firecolbert.com.
Yeah.
Or hashtag firecolbert. When he mentioned that the only thing Donald Trump's mouth is good for is to be the cock holster of Putin.
Yeah, that was pretty shocking for CBS.
Yeah. Well, they did bleep out cock.
They did bleep it out, but you knew what he was talking. You still know what he's saying.
Yeah. But my sisters on Facebook rallied around, let's fire this guy for making a joke. And then, whereas with my brother, just yesterday, he's like, I lobbed a softball at him, and he said, you know what, he doesn't strike me as a person that's going to resign. I think he's going to be the first one ever removed from office. His presidency is so absurd it wouldn't even pass muster for a fictional TV show. It's so absurd. And so,
what if it is a fictional TV show?
I'm not trying to make him like me because I fear the consequences.
Yeah, you are too. Bullshit. Come on.
I'm trying to get him closer to me.
I'm planting seeds that'll grow into Randy trees. You want him to be you would love for your brother to see things, see the world the way that you do, and be like, because you see the harm in being so faithful or dogmatic that you're unable to see times when you are a bigot. And like this is another one of the criticisms from Kiwi that I think is a valid criticism. When ex-Mormons call Mormons bigots, we're wrong. They're not, but sometimes they act like them. It's kind of like the Mike Tannehill unintentional racist thing. Like,
yeah, but he is a racist.
This is where the party ends. I can't stand here listening to you and your racist friend. I know politics, boy.
Hey, hang on a second here. And we didn't go this direction in the conversation. As I'm editing this, I wish that we would have. But is this possibly an example of the fallacy, where, just because Mike or anybody else has done racist things in some areas, that they're racist, like in every area, they're totally racist? Or could they just have some blind spots where they're not, because I've talked with Mike and he doesn't feel like he's a racist, and he'll give me examples of why he's not a racist, and then we can give him examples of where he is, but so is it the fallacy to say that just because there are some incidences of racism that he's always a racist? I don't know. And Randy and I didn't explore this idea, but I'm thinking about it now, so I'm cutting in, and now I'm going back to editing like this.
Just because he doesn't like the term.
so like your sisters or your brother that might have icky feelings about LGBT, or would say something like, "Oh, they're the new privileged class," because what they're really upset about is the way that they've been embraced in mainstream culture, and they can't get over it. If they're saying things like that, you're going to cringe and be like, "Oh, dang it, my brother is a bigot, and the Mormon Church made him that way. I'd like for him to leave the Mormon Church so that he's not a bigot anymore." Is that right, or am I wrong?
No, because his wife is someone I can't touch.
Go for it, man. Can't touch this.
I don't have any.
Why do you want to touch his
her.
wife, Randy? What is that?
You had to go there. She's someone I can't touch her intellectually.
You can't plant any seeds.
Her.
Oh no, that could be that could.
Oh God! Now you got to make it even worse. I can't plant my seeds in her.
You can't plant your seeds in your sister-in-law.
Oh, this is so gross. It's funny, but it's gross.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know I've been in her home probably a dozen times, and I've, the kind of mom that, like, their oldest son is looking through the window at the other Mormons in the neighborhood playing and saying, "Mommy, can we play with them?" And she says, "No, it's Sunday." Just a very...
But I think you're sidestepping my question, Randy, because you're saying why it's impractical that your brother ever would because of his wife. But that is kind of irrelevant to what you want for him. Like, you would like for him to not be Mormon. You would like for his wife to not be Mormon, like, so that they could...
Yeah, I would like them to drive the same speed as I am on the highway.
Yeah. Right.
But my realistic hope and expectation is that we can not be so far apart politically that we can't even talk about anything but sports. And like we can actually, if he's too far away, then you just can't even broach that subject of politics. But I can now broach it with him, and we can actually have a interesting exchange back and forth.
That's good.
And he even called me out once. He said, "You're kind of a dick to my sister Kathy."
Yeah.
I totally understand your passion and how you feel about the bigotry towards LGBT, but you really were mean to Kathy in a public way that was inappropriate.
Yeah.
And I came back with my hat in my hand. I said, absolutely. And don't worry, Jeff, I've personally apologized to Kathy. So there's a back and forth, but I think if I can get him a little bit more towards the moderate side of Republican, it'll be a better relationship. But I would not want to fuck with his happiness. I think he's happy.
Right.
And so I'm not gonna go that far. And even if I did, it would push us further and further apart anyway. So it's pointless.
So one of the reasons I was curious to push back on your planting seeds comment a little bit is because this is another one of those stereotypes that Kiwi has that we're trying to ruin the faith of faithful believing Mormons, that we're out to get them. And, so when we say things like planting seeds, that plays right into that narrative. Oh yeah, there they are. They're out there, they're now the anti-Mormon missionaries. We wear a white name tag. Black shirts, white name tags. We're the anti-missionaries.
Cool. That actually looked pretty cool, I think.
That would be pretty cool, yeah.
The black shirts are coming.
Yeah. But that's not what you're saying. You're really not interested in deconverting your brother or taking away his faith because you see how much of his life and happiness is attached.
Yeah,
and you don't want to take that away from him.
Well, and there's another thing I have an eye on is, he has 3 kids, and what if one of them turns out to be gay? I'd prefer him to have a different attitude than my dad had, even though my dad was 7 for 7 for cisgendered heterosexual kids. I asked my dad after I left the church, what would your advice have been if one of us had turned out to be gay? And his answer was, I would say that I think you should be celibate the rest of your life. Yeah. And I lost my shit. Yeah. And so my eye is on his kids because I love his kids too. Yeah. And if one of them turns out to be gay, I would want a softer landing for them. Yeah. And so I have that little bit of selfish kind of agenda. Yeah. And I don't know how selfish it is because I care about his kids, but I don't like, he's happy. Like, he's verifiably happy as a Mormon. And if all of his kids turn out to be straight, they'll probably be just as happy as he is in the Mormon church. And so anyway, that's kind of my justification. Well,
and it's something that I think about. I mean, especially now that I'm living back among my cousins. I've got a lot of cousins in this area, but I don't know them very well. But I'm always concerned that they would think, oh, I don't want to talk with Glenn because he's going to try and dilute. He's going to try and plant seeds. He's going to try and plant some earworms in my brain that could take away my faith. And like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't feel like that. I don't want to. I don't begrudge them their beliefs at all. But I haven't always felt that way. And I remember maybe even just a year ago, it could have been a little bit longer than that. We were talking about this, and I was saying, yeah, I want my dad to leave the church. I want them to, and I was like just really, really angry for whatever reason. Maybe it was after the policy change. But I don't feel like that now. So for whatever that's worth.
Yeah. And you know what? We're not in people's faces. We are something that someone has to seek out and find. And, we're not, I don't think my favorite uncle died last fall, and I went with Jimmy, my other atheist Snyder boy, to the funeral, and we weren't there to pop any bubbles, but Mormons sure feel okay to come and bear their testimony to us.
Yeah. And
we went through that like 3 or 4 different occasions during that time. We had testimonies born to us because I think the word is out, but we weren't subversive. We had no desire to we just wanted to represent the Snyder clan of the 10 kids that my mom was one of. And, we're not out there. I think a lot of people who leave the church right off the bat are angry. They go through the angry phase and they're the bubble poppers. But I think most get past that and realize that you're just kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
If that's what you're trying to do there, like, people aren't asking for it, but there's nothing wrong with us having a podcast and having something that people have to make a choice to consume, for us to be as honest and frank as we want to be.
One of the comments on the website really surprised me was from a woman who is an active believing member but listens to us. And I forget exactly what she said. There was something that she corrected me on, that I said it was I don't know, it seemed like it was a minor point. I think she was right what she said. But I thought that was really cool that she's able to listen to us without feeling threatened. And I hope, and if she's listening now, tell us on the website that she doesn't feel like we're trying to convert her. But where I feel like there's a failing, and I really do feel like this is a failing in just something that we couldn't see, or that I couldn't see, is the way that making fun of cherished beliefs and making fun of the church does, in effect, make people feel like we're calling them stupid. If we think this thing is stupid and you believe it, then you must be stupid too. It's I've gone to some good schools. I've read some good books. I'm not a dodo. I would hope that you would think of me, that Holland thing.
Well, I guess if that's what they believe, it's probably a good thing they chose to leave it, because we're not a cult. I'm not an idiot. I've read a couple of books and I've been to a pretty good school. And I have chosen to be in this church because of the faith that I feel and the inspiration that comes.
No, I'm not calling you a cult. I'm just saying that I've met people who used to be in the church.
I've met people. And if people want to call us a cult, they can call us a cult, and you can call us a cult. But we are 14 million and growing. And I'd like to think that your respect for me would be enough to know that this man doesn't seem like a dodo.
I think that's generally how members feel when they're interacting with somebody who's left, that they're the object of ridicule and scorn. And there's been times where we've done that, maybe a lot, and I do feel bad about that.
Definitely a lot.
Yeah, but so it's like, I'm not going to go back and listen to everything that I've ever said on a podcast, but I think that mostly what I'm doing is I'm looking at the way that I used to see Mormonism, the way I used to believe it, and that's what I'm making fun of. And it's very personal to me, and I'm kind of like scraping that stuff away, trying to understand it and analyze it and look at it. And ridicule is part of that. It's part of getting that psychic, and I don't mean like woo-woo psychic. I just mean like cerebral, emotional, psychological distance between myself and this thing that was such a formative force in my life for so long, and still is, but just in a different way. So I don't want to be the person that's telling Mormons that they're stupid for believing in Mormonism. But I will say, if they're doing something that's bigoted against, like when what was there was something. It was another political thing I was watching on MSNBC. They were talking about how many Christian fundamentalists support Trump, and kind of why they do when Trump doesn't really represent their values.
Yeah, that's going to be my Sunstone presentation.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that'll be interesting. The Christian values that Jesus taught in the Bible, the New Testament, the Beatitudes, are all about giving to the poor, taking care of the poor, not taking away their health care and giving the wealthy a big tax break. That's not.
It's only 890 billion.
Yeah, but like Christian values are not what the modern Republican Party is representing, at least economically. Maybe on the social issues like abortion, that's probably the biggest thing.
There's nothing in the Bible about abortion.
No,
nothing.
No,
at all.
Well, you say that now, but you used to think that the Bible had something that justified. What was the example that you gave earlier about becoming gods? You used to think that the Bible said, "Oh, we're all heirs to the kingdom of God, so that means that we're all going to become gods," just like Joseph Smith said. And it's something that so I'm sure there are scriptures in there that pro-lifers point to and say, "Oh, yes, it's in the Bible." You know,
well,
like Job, before you were in the belly, I knew you, or something like that. Don't they point to that and say?
That's Jeremiah chapter 1.
Okay, all right. See, I went to Japan and didn't Bible bash. We didn't Bible bash at all. All we heard was we're Buddhist, and then they'd slam the door in our face if they even opened it in the first place.
That must have sucked. They have no common ground to build on.
It made the rejection easier. It gave us, like, we had this huge cultural buffer between us and these people who looked and acted very differently from us that were rejecting us. It was so much easier to accept that rejection, I think, than if I would have gone stateside. And I'm looking at people that are my people, basically, you know, that are saying, "You're nuts. I don't want anything to do with you." That would be harder, I think, than what I experienced. But
yeah, it was kind of hard because it was like a neighborhood virtually indistinguishable from where I grew up.
Yeah.
So it felt like, yeah. Anyway,
was it easier for you on the Indian reservation?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Because I could look down on them,
right,
as basically like a third world pocket in this first world country, and be able to contrast it from like just the very border of where Mesa ends and the Salt River Reservation begins.
Right.
It's like, boom, nothing but dirt.
or just that their tradition is so lost. You know, like
so obviously
it's so
false. Like,
obviously
really?
lost. You know, they just and as you know, you've got the whole Lamanite thing there for the Japanese. I remember there was one flip chart that we had that had like 6 different boxes, and one of them was like a picture of Jesus. Then another one was a picture of the universe. One was a picture of nature. One was a picture of ancestors. There was like a statue or something. You know, there were all these different things, and the way we would use the chart is ask them to point to which one represented God to them. And I had that pejorative view, like, they are so ass backwards. They're never going to point to the right one. Like, I could have my finger pointing to Jesus the whole time and be like, pick the right God. It's this one right here. And they're, you know, they'd pick some weird thing like the universe or nature or their
that's
ancestors
so silly.
or a statue or, you know, like, yeah, you know, so there definitely was this looking down on the rest of the world because they didn't have, and I don't think that every Mormon is like that, but I certainly was. And, you know, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, for me, and I've said this many times, the main purpose, I feel like, of our podcast, where we get on and we are snarky and unrepentant about mocking everything that we think is silly about Mormonism, is more for a landing place of people that have already had these thoughts and just need some kind of like validation that they're not alone in the world in their thoughts. But I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to make it so it's not our fault.
That what's not our fault?
Making people feel like they're stupid. Because this is something that really hits home with me. Is one of the first people I came out to was a golfing buddy, and we were really tight at the time. It was back when I was in dental school at USC, so it was back in Los Angeles. And he was a really good golfer, and so he took me out to go golfing for the sole purpose this time to finally at the 18th hole tell me, I just am afraid that you think I'm stupid.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, no. Okay, I guess I was stupid 5 years ago. I'm not. My intelligence hasn't changed. It's just lots of other things have shifted in how I see the world. It's not that I think you're stupid.
Has your level of certainty shifted?
It depends on what you're talking about, what I'm certain about. Like if you're saying, is your level of certainty that the Earth is 6,000 years old shifted? Hell yeah. I am as positive as I can be about anything in this world that the Earth is not 6,000 years old.
Yeah.
But if you're saying, how certain are you that there is no God, that there's no possibility of any kind of God, then my certainty scales back quite a bit.
Sure, yeah. But you can see like that example of a 6,000-year-old Earth. Did you really believe that when you were a Mormon, when you were a believer, or didn't you think, well, it was probably like creative periods, like maybe it was 1,000 years, or maybe it was even longer than that, but it was six distinct periods, and that's what's being described in.
Yeah, but D&C kind of takes away all of the interpretive wiggle room when it talks about each era is 1,000 years, so it scales it up to 7,000 years. But so I would say that I believed in a young Earth up until I got my scientific training at BYU, of all places.
Yeah. When
I started to meet other believing, one of them was even a stake president, Bill Bradshaw.
Yeah.
Bear his testimony that the Earth is definitely not 6,000 years old.
Yeah.
And that's when I formulated, okay, so the Garden of Eden is 6,000 years ago, but that doesn't mean the Earth itself is 6,000. And that allowed me to not have to deal with any given stalagmite in a fucking cave is older than the Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and then that got me an appreciation for there are some really well-educated, scientifically trained people that could also be believers too. So it's not like I think Bill Bradshaw or your former bishop, my late sister-in-law's father, Alan Keel, that dude is way smarter than I am.
Yeah.
Richard Bushman is way smarter than I am.
Yeah.
So that just for Kiwi's sake, if he's still listening, which he probably isn't, but
oh, he definitely is. Oh, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? He's listening to this.
I do not. I mean, I have met many a believing Mormon that is way smarter than me. So it would be irrational for me to think that I'm smarter than any believer.
I really hope that Kiwi comes back and goes, "No, I wasn't." That'd be awesome. Mary Ann is the active believing member, and she said,
"Mad." I was going to say, mad props to Marianne. Go ahead.
Yeah. As a believing member, I actually love listening to your podcast. The barbs and sarcasm offer good entertainment, but the fact you guys back up your positions with good arguments is the real value. I mean, I appreciate that she says that, and that she doesn't feel. I mean, I'm assuming she doesn't feel threatened by what we're saying, or that she doesn't feel like we're mocking and ridiculing her. I hope not. Let's take
this one data point to validate our whole hypothesis.
Yes, because we've got this one.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, when we've done surveys in the past, there's a small percentage of active believing Mormons who listen to us. It's not as large as the non-Mormons, the Nevermos, who fill out the survey. But anyway.
What else would we expect? All right.
Hi, this is Gary Asp from Colorado Springs, Colorado, and I'm a foreman. That's to say, a former Mormon. I told the church they could shove the blue pill up their ass. I chose the red pill, staying in Wonderland, and Infants on Thrones is helping me see how deep this rabbit hole goes. You can comment on this episode on the website, infantsonthrones.com, and if you really like what you hear, give the Quorum a 5-star rating and write a short review on iTunes. I did. Anyone for the closing prayer?
That's one of those songs by Carly Simon that I'm like, oh God, dude, like maybe she's aware of the silliness of the premise of the song. Is she singing a song about a guy saying, "I bet you think it's about you," and of course it's about him.
Yeah, but that's not the point.
What's the point?
The point is that that's what he thinks.
Okay.
It could be about other people, but he thinks it's about him. Like, she's been with other men. She could have been singing about anybody else.
Has she ever revealed? She's never revealed, right? That would ruin the magic of the song.
Warren Beatty.
Oh, it's Warren Beatty. Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, people have thought James Taylor, Warren Beatty, or Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger actually sings backup on it, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's Warren Beatty. Maybe it's James Taylor. I don't know. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Infants on Thrones.